America's favorite storyteller was living a secret life no one saw coming. For decades, Charles Kuralt, the gentle voice of On the Road, charmed millions with his tales of small-town America, while hiding a shocking personal truth. Behind the camera, he maintains 2 lives, 2 homes, and 2 loves. When the secret finally surfaced, it shattered the image of the man who once defined honesty and heart in journalism. Let's listen to his story. The first shock that Charles Kuralt gave his fans was the truth about his 2 women. On August 25, 1954, while still a senior at the University of North Carolina, Kuralt married his college sweetheart, Jean Sori Guthrie of Charlotte. The couple seemed like the ideal young pair, 2 ambitious students from UNC, full of dreams for their future. Their early years were a mixture of youthful energy and professional aspiration. As Kuralt began his journalism career, his charm and curiosity for people grew into his signature trait. But the demands of his work, endless travel, and his inability to stay grounded would soon take their toll on his marriage. Charles and Jean had 2 daughters, Susan Bowers and Lisa Bowers White, who would remember their father as a loving but often distant figure. Kuralt's growing career meant long periods away from home. His relentless work ethic, the very quality that made him famous, created an emotional gap between him and his young family. By 1960, just 6 years after their wedding, the couple divorced. The end of the marriage marked the first visible sign of how Kuralt's devotion to his craft sometimes cost him dearly in his personal life. 2 years later, in 1962, Kuralt married Suzanne Sue Baird, a public relations executive who shared his intellectual curiosity and urban lifestyle. The couple made their home in New York City, close to the CBS headquarters, where Kuralt built his legendary career. For decades, they maintained the image of a solid, devoted couple, appearing together at public functions and in professional circles. Yet beneath that image, Kuralt was a man divided between his domestic life in New York and his love for solitude, travel, and the open road. Kuralt's lifestyle was notoriously unhealthy. Despite his fame as a chronicler of America's simple, wholesome pleasures, he rarely followed a wholesome routine himself. He smoked heavily, loved greasy diner food, and drank freely. He often joked about his lack of discipline, but his close friends worried. The long years of smoking, stress, and constant travel wore on him. Once, he was even pulled over for driving under the influence, a rare but telling sign that his relationship with alcohol occasionally crossed the line. As he aged, the toll on his body became evident. In the 1990s, Kuralt's health began to decline rapidly. He was diagnosed with systemic lupus erythematosus, an autoimmune disease that causes chronic inflammation and can damage vital organs. The condition weakened him, but in typical Kuralt fashion, he continued working and traveling, refusing to slow down or change his habits. He brushed off advice to rest and often concealed the seriousness of his condition from colleagues and viewers who saw him as the embodiment of vitality. On July 4, 1997, Charles Kuralt passed away at New York Presbyterian Hospital from heart failure. He was only 62 years old. The irony of dying on Independence Day, the day he so often celebrated in his broadcasts as the essence of American freedom and spirit, was not lost on those who admired him. His death marked the end of a storytelling era, one that celebrated the ordinary beauty of small-town America. However, things are not that simple. Soon after his death, shocking revelations emerged that shattered the wholesome image many had of him. Behind his warm television persona, Kuralt had lived a double life for nearly 30 years. A secret relationship with a woman in Montana named Patricia Shannon, whom few outside his inner circle even knew existed. Kuralt first met Patricia Shannon, then Patricia Shannon Baker, in 1968 while filming a story in Reno, Nevada. Shannon, a passionate community activist, had spearheaded the creation of Pat Baker Park, a public recreation area in one of Reno's poorest neighborhoods. The area had been without any safe green spaces for local families until Shannon's efforts brought the project to life. Kuralt arrived to cover the story for CBS, captivated by her dedication and warmth. That meeting sparked a connection that would evolve into a 3-decade companionship, one that remained hidden from his wife, friends, and even most of his colleagues. In public, Kuralt never revealed the nature of their bond. Even in his 1990 memoir, A Life on the Road, he mentioned Shannon only briefly in the context of her community work, omitting any personal details. But privately, their relationship deepened. He supported Shannon financially and emotionally, helping her through life's challenges while maintaining the illusion of a faithful husband back in New York. Over time, Kuralt and Shannon built what many described as a shadow family. He paid for her to attend the Inchbald School of Design in London, helping her pursue her passion for interior design. He also helped to raise and financially support her 3 children, treating them almost as his own. Letters later revealed that Kuralt often referred to their Montana life as his place of peace, where he could escape the stress of his public career and reconnect with the simple, quiet world he loved to celebrate in his stories. Their secret life centered around a remote property in Twin Bridges, Montana, which Kuralt purchased and developed over time. There, he lived a completely different existence, one filled with fly fishing, long drives, and quiet evenings by the fire. It was, in many ways, the life he often described in his on-air essays about the beauty of rural America. But while millions of viewers believed he spoke about a universal American dream, Kuralt was often talking about his own hidden sanctuary and the woman who shared it with him. Kuralt's wife, Suzanne Sue Baird, apparently had no knowledge of this second relationship. To her, Charles was a devoted husband who simply loved the solitude of the open road. He was frequently away for work, and his absences, which stretched for weeks or even months, were accepted as part of his journalist's lifestyle. Few could have imagined that those road trips sometimes ended not in another small-town motel, but at a log cabin in Montana, where Patricia Shannon waited. After Kuralt's death in 1997, the truth finally surfaced. Shannon came forward, revealing that Kuralt had promised her the Montana property in his final days. In a letter written just weeks before his death, he told her he wanted her to have the land and the cabin they had shared. But when his formal will was read, it made no mention of Shannon or the Montana land. The omission ignited a legal battle between Shannon and Kuralt's daughters from his first marriage. The dispute grew into a national story, a real-life twist that seemed torn from one of Kuralt's own moral tales. Shannon produced heartfelt letters and decades of correspondence as evidence of their deep bond. Kuralt's family, shocked and hurt by the revelations, argued that the property should remain part of his estate. The case climbed all the way to the Montana Supreme Court, which ultimately ruled in Shannon's favor. The court found that Kuralt's handwritten letter, expressing his intent for her to inherit the Twin Bridges land, constituted a valid codicil to his will. With that ruling, Patricia Shannon became the legal owner of the property, a symbolic recognition of her 3-decade relationship with a man the world thought they knew. The story exposed a side of Charles Kuralt that was both human and heartbreaking, a man torn between duty and desire, between the image he built and the life he quietly longed for. In addition to the shocking story about Charles Kuralt's women, his past career has also become a subject of attention. Long before Charles Kuralt became the gentle voice that guided Americans down back roads and through forgotten towns, he was already showing the makings of a storyteller. His gift for words and his fascination with ordinary moments emerged early in his childhood in Charlotte, North Carolina. While other children were chasing baseballs and collecting cards, Young Charles was writing about the game. As a boy, he entered a children's sports writing contest for a local newspaper. His entry wasn't about the game's score or a player's performance. It was about a dog that ran loose on the field during a baseball match. That small, humorous moment, told with charm and empathy, won him first place. It was a glimpse into what would define his future work, finding beauty, humor, and humanity in the simple, unexpected details of everyday life. By the time he turned 14, Kuralt was already breaking barriers. He became one of the youngest radio announcers in the United States, calling minor league baseball games and even hosting a local music show. His voice, steady, warm, and mature beyond his years, captivated listeners. He didn't just read scores or play records. He told stories, painting scenes so vivid that people felt they were right there in the stands or sitting beside him in the studio. That same year, in 1948, Kuralt's talent earned national recognition. He was chosen as one of only 4 National Voice of Democracy winners in the entire country. Standing proudly at just 14 years old, he delivered his speech with poise and conviction, earning a $500 scholarship, a considerable sum at the time. The experience boosted his confidence and gave him a taste of the public acclaim that would later follow him throughout his broadcasting career. Kuralt continued to excel in school. At Charlotte's Central High School, he was known not only for his intellect, but for his quiet determination and kindness. Classmates voted him most likely to succeed in the graduating class of 1951, a prediction that, in time, would prove uncannily accurate. He carried himself with the calm assurance of someone who knew he was destined for a life behind the microphone or the pen. That fall, he entered the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, one of the most prestigious journalism schools in the South. Kuralt immersed himself in campus life. He joined St. Anthony Hall, a literary fraternity that attracted writers, poets, and creative thinkers. Surrounded by kindred spirits, he honed his craft, writing essays, editorials, and short stories that reflected his love for observation and detail. At UNC, his journalism career began to take shape. Kuralt joined the staff of the Daily Tar Heel, the university's student newspaper, where he quickly rose through the ranks to become editor-in-chief. His editorials were known for their clarity and wit, tackling campus issues with the same curiosity and humanity that would later define his television work. At the same time, he continued to work in broadcasting. Kuralt took on shifts at WUNC Radio, the university's public station, where he combined his growing skill as a journalist with his lifelong love of storytelling. His rich, melodic voice became a familiar sound to listeners across the state. He also ventured into radio drama, showcasing his ability to narrate and perform with emotion. Kuralt starred in an episode of American Adventure, A Study of Man in the New World, a WNC program written by John Eel and directed by John Clayton. The episode, titled Hearthfire, aired on August 4, 1955, and told the story of the creation of the Tennessee Valley Authority and its impact on communities. Kuralt's performance in the production revealed his range as both a journalist and a storyteller, capable of bringing history to life through sound and voice alone. During his college summers, Kuralt returned home to work for WBTV in Charlotte, one of the first television stations in the Carolinas. There, he gained valuable experience in front of and behind the camera. The newsroom's fast pace thrilled him, and he began to see television not just as entertainment but as a powerful storytelling medium. In 1955, Charles Kuralt graduated from the University of North Carolina with a degree in history. The field appealed to his deep sense of curiosity and his respect for the passage of time, both qualities that would shape his later work. By the time he left Chapel Hill, he had built a solid foundation as a writer, broadcaster, and observer of life's quiet moments. In 1957, Kuralt joined CBS News as a correspondent, marking the start of a lifelong relationship with the network. He began his television career in the tough world of hard news, covering politics, social unrest, and even war zones. His early assignments took him around the globe, from Latin America to the American South, where his steady demeanor and calm voice made him a reliable presence during times of turmoil. During the 1960s, Kuralt worked as a foreign correspondent and later as a CBS News bureau chief in Latin America. He covered major historical moments, including the Cuban Revolution, and witnessed firsthand the political transformations shaping the modern world. Despite his success, Kuralt grew disillusioned with the relentless pace and grim tone of traditional news reporting. He longed to tell stories that captured hope, not despair, stories that celebrated humanity rather than conflict. That turning point came in 1967, when CBS gave him a chance to experiment with a new kind of segment. Armed with a small crew and a motorhome, Kuralt hit the highways of America to find stories that no one else was telling. The result was On the Road, a series that would make him a legend. For more than 2 decades, Kuralt and his team crisscrossed the country, producing thousands of segments about unsung heroes, eccentric inventors, small-town festivals, and forgotten corners of the nation. There was no script, no teleprompter, just Kuralt's natural curiosity and his ability to listen. He had a gift for drawing out people's humor, pride, and decency, often turning what seemed like trivial anecdotes into profound reflections on American life. Kuralt's style stood in sharp contrast to the news of the day. While the Vietnam War, Watergate, and political scandals dominated headlines, his reports focused on the everyday: a man who carved violins in the woods of Vermont, or a woman who baked pies for passing truckers. His soft, measured voice and poetic narration gave viewers a moment of calm and connection amid a turbulent era. By the 1970s, On the Road had become a national treasure, earning Kuralt multiple Emmy Awards and Peabody Awards for excellence in broadcast journalism. His segments often closed the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite, providing a gentle, uplifting end to otherwise grim broadcasts. Cronkite himself once said that Kuralt found America out there, not in the headlines but in the hearts of its people. In 1979, CBS tapped Kuralt to anchor CBS News Sunday Morning, a program that blended arts, nature, and thoughtful commentary, perfectly suited to his tone and sensibility. The show became an instant success, praised for its intelligence and calm pacing. Kuralt's introductions, often written in his lyrical prose, set the stage for segments that celebrated beauty, humor, and creativity. He hosted Sunday Morning for 15 years, from 1979 until 1994, earning the admiration of both colleagues and audiences who saw him as a national comfort. After leaving the anchor chair, Kuralt returned to what he loved most: the open road. He continued filming travel specials and writing books, including A Life on the Road and Charles Kuralt's America, where he reflected on his years of wandering and the people who shaped his journey. His writing carried the same warmth as his television work, full of quiet wisdom and affection for the country he had spent a lifetime exploring. What do you think about Charles Kuralt? Leave us your comments in the section below. We hope you have found this helpful video. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel if you like it. Thank you for watching this, and see you in the next videos. Goodbye.